So the first thing we need to do is identify what you're going through. Not just your opportunity, but your situation. What does that mean? Well, identifying your situation, you need to really figure out what you're trying to accomplish, your strengths, your weaknesses. Are you an operating company? Great. What are your assets? What are your financials, right? Those are the biggest things that a lot of companies are looking for, okay? We need to identify the assets, the strengths, and I know you guys don't like to hear about it, but the weaknesses. In fact, that's the most important thing because they're going to be the first things that they get pointed out, all right? So once we'd identified this, you can really understand what options are available. Is this something that is a debt option? Do you qualify for financing from revenues and assets, right? Is it equity? Are you not operating yet? I mean, if you don't have revenues, how do you expect to show someone that you can pay this money back, right? This is where we have to get creative, but when getting creative, we also have to provide more information to make them think that the deal is less risky, right? So that they invest. And that's the whole deal there, perception of risk. So we'll touch base on that and what's needed there. Now, if you're a startup, right, and you're identifying your strengths and weaknesses, right? Well, that's going to be something that is even more intensive than both of these because essentially you're looking for funding of something that has not even been established, not anything, right? So the risk is high. So we'll show you what's needed in these items right now, okay? So the first option, right, debt. You're looking at companies generating revenue, right? They're making the money, right? They're already operating. At least I would say most programs, you need to do about $10,000 a month, okay? $10,000 a month, that's not that much. You're looking at $120K a year, small operation. And keep in mind, this isn't just for companies that touch cannabis. This is something that it could be a collaborative company, it could be a logistics. They're having trouble getting funding as well. So take note to that, right? But as long as you're generating revenue, now you have something that someone out there is going to be interested in financing, right? But let's say, what are the other qualities? Well, you have assets, right? You have assets. So when a bank looks at this, they see an operating company, right, that's making money that also has asset. Those are all the normal things a normal bank looks for, right? So if you have these things and the ratios are great, well, that could be a potential option for you, right? But let's face it, not that many companies out there have, the operations that we're looking at right here. They're not generating revenues yet, or maybe they're pre-revenue waiting on an application to be approved and getting their license, right? Well, that's when we talk more about the equity side. So on the equity side, not only do you need to provide information here, because this could be for revenue generating companies. What if you're doing $100,000 a month here, but you need $5 million? This might only cover a portion of that, right? So it's important that we show everything that's involved, right, on the debt side. If you're not generating revenues yet, you can use pro formas, anticipated things. If you have purchase orders on amounts of harvest that maybe are in months to come, those are sufficient. I mean, think about it. That's a purchase order of revenue basically coming to your company. These are all things you can leverage, but that's all part of that, right? But with equity, there's something that's missing. You have to get beyond the paper, okay? And what do I mean by that? Now we're looking at something that, isn't just the ratios and the assets, everything we talked about here. Now they're going to be really concerned about those weaknesses, right? We've mentioned them over here, right? They're going to be identifying this because when someone invests in your company, they might make a lot of money or they might lose everything, right? So think about what you would want if you wanted to see the information to make an investment. So what we can do there is very simple, and we'll walk you through this process when you start working with us, but really it's about understanding not only the smaller things like the market, right? Everyone has similar markets. Everyone has cannabis, right? The products are pretty close to being the same. What you need to discuss are things like your mission. What makes you different, right? Your management team, showing all of the experience, right, that you have, your backgrounds, what you guys have done. Maybe instead of just the market conditions, maybe something unique, like this dispensary happens to be across the street from a rehab clinic, or that provides muscular treatments or PTSD, something that gives it that edge, right? And keep in mind, these are all items that people actually forget to mention when they're applying for funding or even looking about it. They just hand the documents, they hand it to their broker, their investment banker, and just hope that something happens. You can't live on hopium. A lot of people out there are addicted to hopium, hoping that something happens, right? Some of you, though, are pursuing the answers that you guys want. And this is what you can do, right? So you have the financial side. That's not going to change until you actually grow the company. But what you can do better than anybody else is tell them about your company. Why is your management team so good? What is it about your facility? Are you a cultivator that has just someone that's, you fly in from Colorado every year to set everything up for you? Are you someone that just has an innovative lighting solution that is groundbreaking? You need to tell that story, right? And get that attention, because when you're looking at equity, that's what's going to minimize that perception of risk and get you that investment, okay? But you also have to classify what it is that's the carrot, right? The more equity you need, the more of that carrot you have to dangle to appetize their needs, right? Investors just don't give free money away. Some of them do, but they're already billionaires. They don't really care about investing, right? The people that are going to invest in your company want to know what they're going to get in the end. So make sure you're also explaining to them or identifying what a comfortable ROI to them is it ownership, all those things, right? So this kind of gives you a blueprint of what to think about when you're thinking about that equity. Now, if you're in the startup side, right? If you're going to be raising capital in the startup, one, you got to take it seriously. There are so many business plans out there that are junk. There are so many different opportunities that people want, and you really need to diversify away from someone funding your dreams and someone that has an opportunity worth investing in. And there's a big difference, right? In case A, someone that is great background in cannabis, maybe has no other income coming in, sees an opportunity to buy a dispensary but needs someone else's $1 million. On paper, that's going to look like a good deal. Once they find out, no one's going to say yes, right? But that same family that currently operates a dispensary, has an opportunity to buy some, has an income, has a background in cultivation, maybe is the lead person at the dispensary already running it. Now that's someone that has the background, and we can make a story that shows that the risk with that person in the situation B is a lot better. So with the startup, you're gonna, again, go through all of this, right? When you're talking about financing, though, it's gonna be all projected pro forma, right? But when it comes to the actual solution, well, it's really about identifying the minimum that you need. In the startup community, once you get that ball rolling in the cannabis space, it rolls really fast. But the issue is everyone's making snowballs and throwing them down the hill, and no one's preparing for that. So you have to really make sure that you're not just some person saying, oh, it's cannabis, it's hot right now. Stay away from those cliche phrases. Find something unique to yourself and stick to it. Make it your passion and tell that story, because if it's a real product, if it's a startup, people are investing in you and what your process is and the people you know and the potential you have. It's not the cannabis. They're already interested in that. So just keep that in mind, okay? Now, throughout all of this process, it's also important to realize that the dream that you have, the focus, the mission, is what the company does, right? If you don't have the financing behind it to support that, well, then you have to show them why. No one's going to ask for more documents at a certain point. You have one chance, and typically they don't look at it again. So it takes time. It's important to take the time to identify things. No longer the process of, hey, I need funding. Here's one option. Take it. I hope that was helpful. If you have any other questions, click below. I'll be back in touch with you within 24 hours. We'll figure things out. Allsome Capital. All of us have dreams. Some of us pursue them.